I'm sure it won't take too long at all. That's tier 2. There's tier 1. Fantastic. So the stream's up, the chat's up, we're all good to go. Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to round 6 of the PlayStation Tier 1 Pacific Series here at Race Spec Esports. It's time for the Italian Grand Prix at Autodromo Nazionale di Monza. A 5.8 kilometer, 11 turn racetrack. It is Formula One's Temple of Speed. It's one of the most historically significant racetracks on the Formula One calendar. It has held every single Italian Grand Prix bar one, and that was back in 1980 when it was going under maintenance. Imola actually hosted that race, and it was the first ever time that Imola hosted a Formula One race, and because of how good that race was, it was actually decided by the FIA to hold 2 races in Italy, one being here at Monza for the Italian Grand Prix, the other at Imola for the San Marino Grand Prix. It's the 3rd oldest racetrack in the world, built in 1922. It's the oldest track on the Formula One calendar by quite a considerable margin. It's got many legendary corners like Rettifiglio, Curva Grande, the Della Roggia chicane, the 2 Lesmo curves, the Ascari chicane, and of course the iconic Parabolica curve. But other than that, it's a fairly straightforward racetrack. It's not a very technically demanding racetrack. It's basically a bunch of straights and chicanes, plus the 2 Lesmos and Parabolica, of course. But this racetrack is about one thing and one thing only, and that is speed. We'll probably see drivers run with as lower wings as they can possibly run without spinning out, most notably at the Ascari chicane. It's quite deadly through there. But qualifying should be very close and competitive due to the lack of technical requirement from the racetrack. We're right on board with G-Force Ford for our first flying lap of this 18-minute qualifying session, heading towards Rettifiglio, hard on the brakes at the 100-meter board, 2nd gear, coming out of turn 2, 4th gear, 5th gear, 6th, 7th gear, and into top gear, around Curva Grande, hugging the right-hand side, preparing himself for Della Roggia, hard on the brakes just after the 100-meter board, cuts the chicane quite nicely. A bit squirrely on the exit though, that'll cost him plenty of time. Now into the first Lesmo, 5th gear, gently on the throttle on the exit, now into the 2nd Lesmo, 5th gear, on the exit, quite nice. Not abusing too much of the curve through there, it's only his first flying lap after all. Now into Ascari. Now this part of the circuit requires you to cut a fair amount, but you have to be careful right here at turn 10 at the end of Ascari. If you take that corner awkwardly, the car has the tendency to just sort of rotate spontaneously, and you can end up in the barrier on the outside, so you do have to be careful. Around the iconic Parabolica curve, one of the finest final corners on any racetrack in Formula One. I do enjoy driving around it. And G-Force Ford does a 1 minute 18.4. Now, I did tier 3 but a few minutes ago. The pole time for that was a 1:19.1. Yeah, it's quite a step up in pace from tier 3 to tier 1, to say the least. Crichton has jumped to the top of the table with an 18.069, a very nice time indeed. Polscarilla underneath the historic oval overpass. On the original circuit, it was sort of a figure of 8 layout of sorts, where they used both the circuit that they race on today and the high banked oval. It's quite a dangerous racetrack. It was only used once in Formula One history, and into the wall goes Mr. Mount. You saw that in the background there. See if we can't find the next car on the road. I think it's Izzat. No, it's G-Force Ford. Actually, it will be his teammate. We'll go with old mate Kurt. I said the final corner at Ascari is quite treacherous. Oh, he's despawned. And that has perfectly demonstrated that in qualifying. Mr. Mount probably just used a bit too much of the curb, and for some reason the car just gets incredibly unsettled and it just rotates. He went off into the barrier. His teammate though crosses the line to settle 1 minute 18.761. But yeah, it's not an incredibly technical racetrack. There's very few corners you have to worry about. Turn 1, turn 2, obviously. Turn 3 is a nothing corner, Curva Grande. Just don't be a clown and run off onto the grass or run off into the gravel on the exit. I'd say the second Lesmo curve is pretty important, and of course Ascari. There's very few parts of the racetrack you have to look out for, but in order to get those top times, you need to nail every single part of the racetrack. You cannot afford to make a mistake. It's like a racetrack such as Red Bull Ring, and Red Bull Ring is another great example where you cannot afford to make a mistake at any of the corners because it will just quite simply cost you too much time. Kevin Texas on a flying lap, currently 12th overall, making his way around Curva Grande, heading towards the Della Roggia chicane. Quite nicely through there. Not using all of the curve on the exit, just enough. Around the first Lesmo, coming towards the second, braking at the 50 board down to 5th gear. There's yellow flags, it's just a slow car I imagine, it's just old mate Kurt going into the pits. Here comes curving up to Ascari. This is where we saw Mr. Mount have his moment. Right here. And there we go. Perfect example again. And that's 2 retirements at the same corner within a matter of less than 5 minutes actually. Curving Texas is out of the session. A big moment indeed. See what Plebs can do in the Mclaren. The oval overpass towards Ascari. Spun out, locking up, as you heard there, and invalidating. Pretty brutal, I can assure you through there. It's pretty brutal at... actually, that's the only part where I think where it's brutal, Ascari. All the other parts are pretty forgiving, particularly the first 2 chicanes, they're pretty forgiving. I'd say only Ascari is the only brutal warnings from my own personal experiences. I'll go on a flyer heading towards Della Roggia. Takes it quite nicely. Let's see what Wogboy can do around the second Lesmo. At the moment doing pretty well. Heading towards the Ascari chicane, 5th gear. Takes it quite nicely. I'll just see what Wogboy does, and I'll be inviting a special guest to the party, it seems. Just take me a moment. We'll see what Wogboy can do. Oh dear. Quite costly mistake there, just running wide at Parabolica. Won't set a time. He did an 18.8, but it sounded like he backed off a little bit at exiting Ascari. That engine though just seemed to drop a bit. And Plebs has spun round at Ascari. It's a bit earlier than you'd expect though. But fortunately for him, he's still running. So, on that note, I'll just quickly go blue screen for just a moment, and we'll return in just a few minutes. Hi, Roscoe.
Good evening. You've got me loud and clear, I hope.
You've got the party settings on always allow?
I should do.
With
It might be different on PS5 compared to PS4, is it? I don't know.
We'll see. There we go. Told you we'll be back in only a few moments, but my special guest for tonight is actually VSR Roscoe. Now, Roscoe, I'm a bit surprised that you're electing not to race for tonight, though I have noticed you've gone through some wretched luck in the past couple of races, so I completely understand that you want to hop out for a bit.
Yeah, no, well, you probably won't notice, Meg, but I had a chat to Plebs about this a couple of hours beforehand. Obviously, I've not had the greatest of run both in Tier 1 of Pacific and even in RS2, so I thought I might dip my hand in the commentary side of things. I stayed up, one of the Ferraris is around.
Yeah, that's another one. This is 4 different drivers have had a moment here. 2 of them are retired because of it. It's quite a brutal part of the racetrack, Ascari, here at Monza. What's your opinion of this racetrack, this historically significant racetrack?
Well, it's definitely fast, flowing. You could say it's nearly like a DRS train. You'd have to, you get literally stuck in it. You can't, well, you can maybe try an undercut to maybe try and get an advantage. But, probably question is whether you want to be leading for the majority of the race. Probably the key bit would be the last lap, wouldn't it? So,
absolutely.
be leading at the last lap of the race.
Yeah, timing will be everything in regards to the race itself, because I think you're going to be right. I think we're going to see a massive DRS train form with the top guys unless someone breaks away. And it appears to be that person might be Zach Crichton. He's done a 17.9 at the top of the table. He is just under half a second clear of second place, which is GeForce Ford, who's just begun another flying lap. But I believe the strategy around here is soft to medium, if I'm not mistaken. But say, if you qualified outside the 10 here at Monza, would you gamble at perhaps starting on the medium compound or even a hard compound of time?
Yeah, I'd definitely consider it. I remember from the last season when I raced around here back in, I think it was back in Tier 2, I did that similar strategy, and yes, although I may have got caught up in a little bit of misfortune along the way, I definitely think it's worth a shot anyway. Do the medium to soft or even hard to soft if you can't take mediums to the end of the race.
Okay, fair enough indeed. So it'll be very interesting to see what the drivers outside the top 10 elect to do for the race itself. I haven't got a weather report, unfortunately, so I've got no idea if it's going to be raining. Yes, that's alright. We'll see what happens in the race. But looking at it, seeing as everyone's qualifying on the soft, it's either going to be raining quite early or raining right at the start. Either that, or people just want to qualify on the on the soft tyre rather, to just try and get that track position. But no, I have seen, I think, all of your races so far in Race Spec. I can't believe the wretched luck that you're having, and yeah, I feel very sorry for you. Do you feel like you're performing okay though? That your skill level is all good? It's just bad luck, or?
Yeah, it's probably potentially that, and me in this game have probably just not really got on well, I suppose. Like,
fair enough.
Probably sometimes I've probably just, you know, just maybe what's the word I'm trying to think of here? Go for results that, you know, I think I can achieve, but then, you know, it doesn't turn out the way I would like it to be. So yeah, this is probably the way it is. But might give the commentary side a little bit of a run for possibly the rest of the season, and I'll come back hopefully in the next phase of the next game anyway when it does come out.
Yeah, F1 2021 hopefully will be a bit better than this as OP Magic proceeds to cut the first chicane. Yeah, he didn't read the head steward's report, didn't he? You're not allowed to do that. Yeah, stewards are going to have a fun time. Yeah, I caught that on stream. I was looking right at him when he finished his lap, so... But I won't report it. Someone watching can report it. I don't do that sort of thing. I don't want to get involved in that sort of thing. I just do the commentary bit, that's all I do. But no, I think you'll enjoy it here in the commentary box. There's always a lot of fun. And, you know, it's... all you have to do is just enjoy yourself. That's the most important thing you have to remember. When you're starting out commentary in particular, just have fun. You know, there's no stress to be professional, any of that stuff. If you're having a good time, everyone else will enjoy it as well. So, now, welcome, and I hope you do enjoy this race. You picked a nice racetrack to start off at. Hopefully we get some nice battles up and down the field, but we'll wait and see.
Hopefully I have anyway, otherwise I make it look like an idiot, aren't I? So,
Nah, you're alright, you're alright. It's all good.
It's all good. I'm with one of the best in the business anyway here, Spec.
Oh. I'll hold your hand through it if you want me to, that's okay. No, you'll enjoy it, trust me. But we're coming up to 3 minutes left in the session. Pretty much everyone is preparing themselves for their final flying laps. But is that Kush on an out lap, I think. He switched it to no ERS. Got Leo on an out lap. Plevs, he's on an out lap as well. So yeah, all of these guys are just preparing themselves for their final flying laps. But in your experience, Roscoe, what do you do in order to be fast around here? What do you need to do?
You need probably low downforce, I would think, around here. That's what I was thinking. Is that Kush was coming in because his red fuel light was flashing, so I didn't think he'd get a lap in. But yeah, you'd probably need, I'd say very low downforce, because I mean, well, majority of this track is pretty much just long straights, isn't it? So, and there's only not that many slow corners around here, just like nice fast flowing through the corners, through like the two Lesmos and the Scari and even Parabolica. So I mean, it's probably the sort of thing you would need around here.
And the mentality, is it a conservative approach, or do you just send it, see what happens?
You could probably play it a little bit cautiously. Like I said earlier, obviously DRS train will probably be a very long one, depending on how many cars are in the one train. But you could probably play it a little bit conservatively. Then, you know, when the sort of the timing is right, you can, absolutely go for your moves. But personally, like, probably wait till the last lap, because that's probably the critical thing. You don't want to go to the lead of the race too early, otherwise you could cost yourself big time later on.
Very much a sort of NASCAR style race, isn't it, where you have to plan your moves out. But I was just on board with Leo there. He's elected to pull out of his flying lap. Everyone's on out laps now. 40 on a flying lap, currently third with a 1 minute 18.4. His teammate is just in front with an 18.2, so he needs to find a fair amount of time. Plevs retired in the pit lane. I was wrong. He wasn't on a flying, an out lap rather. He had the flashing fuel light as well, so he's in the pits. He's done for the session, and so the best he can do is 8th. 40 making his way around the first Lesmo, heading towards the second, down to 5th gear. Rides the curbs quite nicely. He was very close to invalidation then. His right-hand side tyres were very, very close to going over the white line. Now into Ascari. We've seen this section claim a few drivers. He's up by 0.4 of a second. That's a lot of time that he has found in that sector. Now let's see what he can do. He's got one corner left. It's a very critical corner, and that's Parabolica. He's heading in there, 333 kilometers an hour, hard on the brakes, 5th gear, short shifts to 6, really runs it out wide, and oh! Let's see what time he would have done. It was a 17.9. Would that be pole? Oh, I reckon that would have by 1,000th, I think.
Yeah, not by much.
Not by much at all. Oh, if he pulled that off, I would have jumped out of my chair, honestly, if it was going to be that close. But no, unfortunately for 40, yeah, starting P3, that's quite a costly error. Spilly on a flying lap, heading towards Ascari. 4th gear, 5th gear, takes it. I don't know how you can take it flat through there. Honestly, I go in there, and as soon as I touch the throttle, it's just, no, the car wants to spin out into a tyre barrier, and these guys can take it flat. Oh, how do you do that? Around Parabolica, Swaggy's jumped up to P2 with an 18.1. Let's see what Spilly can do. It's a 18.2. Jumps up to P4. Leo has invalidated, so he won't be improving. OP Magic has invalidated, so LJB hasn't. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19.1. He does improve. Goes P13. And I believe Nacho's the new driver for McLaren, starting in 16th place. Not exactly the best position you want to be, but at least I guess you're not in the midfield going into turn 1 on lap 1. I think that would be the worst place you want to be on the first lap. But I think that is qualifying done and dusted here at Monza, and it is G-Force Crichton on pole position, the only driver to set a legal lap time in the 17s. 40, he was ever so close, was he? And he did, oh, hang on, I just want to check that lap time he did. Bugger, I won't be able to. Because it come up, it was 1/1000th quicker than Crichton's time.
Yeah, it was nothing, literally nothing.
I'll just quickly go through the order. It's Crichton, Swaggy, Izzat, Spilly, 40, Old Mate Kurt, Leo, Plez, TP, Polish Gorilla. That's the top 10, and they're all starting on the softs. Y-Tunes, OP, Sorrel JB, GeForce Wogboy, Wad Slick, Mofo, Nachos, and the two drivers who crashed out in qualifying, Kevin Texas and missed them out. They're starting 17th and 18th. Now, where are you? 40. Invalidated lap. 1 minute 17.942. He would have been on pole by 2 thousandths of a second. Oh, that would have been an amazing moment to watch if that happened. But, oh, he ran wide at Parabolica. Oh, such a simple mistake, too. It wasn't... He didn't lose control of the car. It seemed like he was in complete control of the car. It was just, oh, teeny weeny, tiny whiny error. But anyway.
It's just one of those things, really, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
You're literally just pushing to the limit, right to the limit. I reckon that's probably what Crichton did with his 17.944. No doubt 40 was in the exact same boat, but yeah, just narrowly went right at Parabolica, but he could have been on the front row of the grid.
Oh, there we go. Poor Leo. When am I going to get good at quali? Don't worry. You don't score points in qualifying. You score points in the race. So long as you do well in that bit, you're going to be fine. It's just qualifying helps a little bit. Just a little bit. Particularly at racetracks like Monaco or boring Singapore. Either one of those two. But,
yes.
Drivers are now deciding what kind of strategy they're going to go with. Mainly those drivers outside the top 10, whether or not they're going to start on a soft set, medium set or hard set of tyres. We'll see what they're up to when we load up onto the grid. Hopefully we won't have a lobby crash. Please don't have a lobby crash. Please don't have a lobby... Oh, God, no. Not again! Game! Stop doing this! You wretched piece of you know what I'm going to say next. But... Oh... Damn this... welcome to F1 2020, ladies and gentlemen. We can't even get a race started. This is the second week in a row where something like this has happened. Fortunately, it's around one of the quicker racetracks on the calendar, not Singapore. The exact opposite. So... I swear, I hope EA's purchase of Codemasters rectifies some of this stuff. I really do. But,
we can hold out hope, but we may not get what we wish for.
You might be right, Ruskoan. You might be right, but who knows. I just pray that stuff like this can be minimized. I think that'll be the polite way of putting it, the less colourful way of putting it, because, honestly, I'm getting incredibly frustrated with this. I really am.
Yes. I think you're not the only one.
It's bewoken. Yes, you're right, Venti Gaming. It is bewoken.
Yep, new lobbies happening, I think.
Okay, doke. Well, Zach, I believe, is going off to create said lobby. And hopefully, I think everyone else is leaving as well. Let's see. Should we jump out? We've seen 2 people jump out already. And there comes the ticks. Okay, weird. Yeah, it appears a few people are now leaving the session.
It's that way. Sometimes when someone leaves and then all of a sudden, oh, you get ticks right, left and centre.
Yeah. Oh. Hopefully that didn't crash the game. Ah, there we go. Alright. Quit to main menu. Because sometimes it does that when a host leaves the lobby, the game has a chance of crashing, and if it does, means that the stream stops and I have to restart it again, and that's always fun.
Right.
So that happened at Singapore, which prevented the stream being 2.5 hours long, in fairness. But
would have been an entertaining 2.5 hours, wouldn't it?
No. That wasn't fun, Singapore. It really wasn't fun, and it really soured my relationship with Singapore. I always had a little bit of a soft spot for the place because it's a racetrack where I did my first ever commentary gig, and that was back in 2019. It was a long, long time ago now, but that was the first ever racetrack I did commentary on. So I always had that little soft spot there, but not anymore. It just reminds me of how boring that racetrack can be, and it doesn't really bode well for great racing. It's not too bad when it comes to the drama department, though, as we found out at the end of the race where G4 Swaggy retired at... was that Pacific Tier or was that RS2? No, that was Pacific Tier 1.
No, it's Pacific.
Yeah.
I remember watching that back after I left the session, and I was wondering what the hell had happened. And
Yeah.
then I think we've realised it hit the inside wall cutting into where the old Singapore sling was.
That surprised me a lot because Swaggy was in such a great position all the way through the race that I genuinely believed that it must have been a technical fault because he was so far in front, he was looking so fast, so consistent. To make a mistake, to hear the news that it was just a mistake, he just hit the inside wall. It really surprised me. And I'm sure he wouldn't have been impressed with himself after that as well. I wouldn't be if I made such a mistake. I'll be furious with myself if I did that. So.
Yeah, just like one little lapse of concentration, and it could all change.
Absolutely. But it shows the level of endurance that you need for a track like Singapore. It is the longest race rather, of the season. You need to be focused and dialed in all the time around there. As Swaggy proved, one teeny weeny tiny whiny lapse in concentration and boom, he lost a race win. An easy race win. I'm sure he'll try and rectify that here at Monza. But
oh, no doubt.
We'll just be waiting on everyone to join into the lobby. I guess we have to find something to talk about. Pre-season. Real life F1. That is this weekend at Bahrain.
It's getting closer, isn't it?
Yeah, it's funny to feel the sensation that we're going into a new Formula One season again. It's only a week away with pre-season. It's at the end of the month for the race itself. But the obvious question would be, who's going to be winning Formula 1.5? I reckon that's going to be a very interesting battle. Like, we know who's winning the championship. Oh,
that's a given.
Like, in the Constructors' Championship, we know. Drivers' Championship, no, let's not kid ourselves here. Valtteri has no shot. But, who knows? Maybe he can eat some of that magic porridge and suddenly he's God tier. I don't know. That might happen. It might.
It
Might.
Yes,
But, and obviously, I think it's fair to say Red Bull will most likely finish second in the Constructors' Championship as well. They had very good form in 2020. They've got a great as well with Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez, but that third place in the Constructors is a bit of a question mark over because there's about, I'd say, 4 or 5 different teams that might be able to claim that third spot in the Constructors, those probably being Aston Martin, McLaren, Alpine, Ferrari, and maybe even AlphaTauri, actually, maybe not, as they have Yuki Tsunoda, a rookie. He's probably not going to get off the greatest of starts, but they might be up there battling with those guys. But who do you think will take third in the Constructors? Me, personally, I have a feeling it's going to be Aston Martin. But what about your opinion, Roscoe?
It's a real tough one. I totally understand where you're coming from with Aston Martin. Obviously, big change up from Racing Point. They've brought in Sebastian Vettel, a 4-time world champion, into that squad, and you'll be able to see what he's like in Mercedes equipment, basically. Won't be for the first time after being a long-standing Ferrari driver and whatnot. So
yeah,
I don't really know. I mean, you would think McLaren should be up there or thereabouts because, again, they've got a good lineup with Lando Norris showed what he
can do
last year, his pace and whatnot, and obviously Daniel Ricciardo now joining McLaren as well since Carlos has moved to Ferrari. That's going to be surely a big motivation for Daniel as well, after pretty much leading Renault, you could say, from last couple of seasons.
Absolutely. It's an interesting toss-up. Like, each team has got some big pros and some big cons next to their names. Like with Aston Martin, obviously with the massive brand change, they're now a works team in quotation marks. They're basically a Mercedes B team. And they now got a 4-time world champion, the third most successful driver in the history of Formula One, Sebastian Vettel. But there is a question mark next to Seb. He had a shocker of a season. There's no other way of describing it. Probably, actually, I think it is his worst ever season in Formula One, ever.
That's fair. That's probably fair.
Like,
plus
the car wasn't there. That's true.
One of Ferrari's best, maybe. It probably didn't suit Seb. Probably more suited Charles Leclerc. Maybe a little bit.
Perhaps.
Seb. That might just be me.
Perhaps. With Seb, though, that year probably took its toll on him. Now, he's got fresh eyes, he's got a fresh mind, and the weight of Ferrari is off his shoulders. But if he can't get up to speed, then the lack of confidence he will have throughout the season. If he can't beat Lance, he's going to... I wouldn't be at all surprised if he can't beat Lance, then there's going to be a tremendous amount of criticism going his way. Just knowing what the Formula One community is like. I mean, we saw that with Alexander Albon, we saw that with Pierre Gasly, where they started to underperform compared to their teammate. The Formula One community jumped on their backs and just tore them to shreds, basically. And I'd hate to be...
That second Red Bull seat has sort of been a little bit cursed, you could say.
Yeah, you'd think so. But, yeah, so if Seb can't do that, then I would not be surprised if the press and the general community just absolutely hounded him for it. And with McLaren, they've got Daniel Ricciardo and Lando Norris, strong driver lineup. They've got a good chassis, as they proved last season. And they've got the Mercedes engine, which is the best engine on the grid. But there is a bit of a hiccup with that, because it's an engine change, which means you have to completely redesign the rear end of that car in order to accommodate the new Mercedes engine. They say that they made a smooth transition, but that's just them saying it. We'll have to see what it's like on track. If it works, then they are really solid for potentially third, maybe even more if they've really nailed it in the constructors, because they're strong driver lineup as well. Ferrari, well, it's Ferrari. They're the biggest team on the grid. They have the most money. They've got two young drivers who are talented. They've got Charles Leclerc, who is bound to be a future world champion, and Carlos Sainz, who is incredibly consistent. He's done multiple seasons now in Formula One, and he's very, very experienced. But 2020 was shocking, to say the least, for Ferrari. They were subpar for Ferrari standards, I would think.
Yeah, it's fair to say that the changes they had with the engine, like the end part of 2019, it pretty much hurt them. The whole you saw that pretty much the whole Ferrari engine gang, the whole of 2020. They went back a whole lot way down than we were expected.
Yeah, those FIA investigations really hurt them. It turns out. So, not saying that it was illegal, but I guess their engine must have been just a little bit illegal, just a little bit. But for them, they've said they've made upgrades, but a bit like McLaren saying that they transitioned well, that's just them saying they've made upgrades and the car's going to be improving. But does that mean they jump up to the front of the field again? Probably not. So they've definitely got a tall order. And Alpine is an interesting one because they've had a complete change in management and brand, and they're bringing back two-time world champion and rookie Fernando Alonso. So, according to the young driver test, anyway, that's a lot of experience right there. And funnily enough, he got both of his championships with Renault, and that's effectively the same team. from back when he won those championships as well. It's the same location. There's probably a few members that were back there in '05 and '06 as well. So it might be a nice way to go for Fernando Alonso to come back to Alpine. But will he be on the pace straight away? I don't know.
Big question mark, isn't it?
Like, there's no doubt the dude has talent. Okay, you don't just win 2 world championships off by luck, especially in the second championship you won. Your major title contender was Michael Schumacher, so he's definitely got it. You know, and he arguably he could have won 2 more world titles against Sebastian Vettel at 2010 and 2012 as well. He was in a chance for those championships as well, but he ultimately came out second best. But Fernando, he's now 39 years of age, I think.
He's, getting on a bit, I think.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
So, I don't know. He spent 2 years out of the sport, missing 2019 and 2020. So, it will take him a while. But Esteban Ocon, he's looking on the up. At the end of 2020, he looked pretty damn solid. He was there or thereabouts with Daniel. And he even got his first podium at the Sakir Grand Prix, finishing second. So Esteban looks to be pretty solid, and also that massive thing with them changing brands to Renault to Alpine. Alpine being a massive French racing team, lot of history, particularly in the world of rallying and sports car racing as well. So that may prove to be quite a successful partnership. And of course AlphaTauri, they've looked really strong. They've got Pierre Gasly, who we've seen perform, won a race. Granted, it was through a fair amount of luck with Lewis Hamilton, but he was there at the right place at the right time. So he took
take it when you get him.
Exactly right, and he managed to hold off Carlos in the end, but he held him off. So
Yes.
I reckon if there was one more lap, just one more, I reckon Carlos would have got him in the end. But and they also made some improvements with the car, I believe. I don't know if they snagged any Red Bull parts or not, but I'll have to read up on that. But their sort of weak point will be Yuki Tsunoda. It's not because he's not gifted or anything, it's just because he's inexperienced. It's going to be difficult for him for the first few rounds to get up to speed, but if he can, then it might be a strong second half of the season for AlphaTauri. So you'd hope that at least Pierre and then maybe Yuki towards the end of the championship, they'll be tossing it up with those teams as well. But isn't that funny? Like, that's the only thing we can talk about in regards to the teams is the battle for third. Like, the battle for first and second is already won before the season has begun. And the bottom 3 teams, well, we got Alfa Romeo. They're probably going to finish 8th off their form last year. And Haas and Williams. I reckon Williams might finish in front of Haas, purely because Haas have 2 rookie drivers, and Gunther Steiner has said they're not making any upgrades after pre-season testing. So that car's going to stay as it is from pre-season testing onwards, whereas I'm sure Williams will be making upgrades. So, but yeah, the interesting bit of Formula One is in the middle.
You would think, wouldn't it, if you wouldn't upgrade your car after, halfway through the season?
Yeah.
Probably be a little bit worried.
Yeah, with Haas, it appears as if they have just accepted the fact that 2021 is just a burner year. We're looking forward to next year already. You know, whatever we get in 2021, we get. We'll move on to 2022. But, of course, well, it seems the way to go for them. And if it works, it works. Because if they do well in 2022 with the new regulations as well, it may play well to them, but we'll have to wait and see. And already they've got some controversy with the Russian flag on their car. Oh, gee whiz.
Yes, I've seen that.
Like, they go through the shenanigans that was Rich Energy, and then this happens. It's just like, can Haas, like, not take a break? Did they just have to be in the press, in the limelight? Not the spotlight, the limelight. You know, the bad stuff. It always happens with them. Anyway.
Always, yes.
Anyway, well, we've talked long enough to the point where people are ready to go. So, thank you very much, Roscoe, for joining me in conversation. This would have been bloody boring if I was here by myself.
What would you have done if without me?
Probably try and
What would you have done?
probably talk about the same thing. Try and keep the audience entertained and keep it relevant to the sport. But no, having someone actually to talk to share opinions with, makes it a million times better than just talking to yourself. So,
Yes, very true.
anyhow, drivers all ready to go. Hopefully, cross our fingers and our toes and whatever else we can cross. We can hopefully get this race underway. It's time for the race itself here at Monza. I think it's 27 laps lay in front of the guys for tonight. Being a very fast circuit, the highest average speed of any racetrack, this should be a fairly short race. Or, at the very least, shorter than Singapore. That's a guarantee. But,
Yes, definitely.
at the very least, it'll be shorter than that race. That I want to forget. Anyway. Clear skies, no signs of cloud anywhere. And Crichton has just ticked the box. Uh-oh. That's not good for Zach. Because
he might have forgotten his setup.
he forgot his setup.
That's not great. Yeah, that's not great around.
Unless he's got a PS5 and just loads in before everyone else, then maybe he's gotten away with it, but...
maybe, I don't know.
Because I know the PS5 load times are just a billion times quicker than the PS4. It is ridiculous.
Oh yeah, 100% to that. It's similar to that on the new Xbox.
Mm.
The new Xbox is a lot more quick at times compared to if you're on the old Xbox.
And Zach is sitting there at pole. What is he doing? Zach has been disqualified from the session. Okay. He's just sort of sitting here. He's not doing anything. Maybe he's realised his mistake and he's just sort of given up on the formation lap, I guess? I don't know.
Possibly.
So we'll just quickly run through the order. It is supposed to be Zach Crichton on pole, but he's sitting on the grid, not doing anything. So, I don't know. Question mark next to his name. It's got Swaggy on in P2. Isaac Kush P3. Spilly in 4th. 40 in 5th. Old Mate Kurt in 6th. Plebs in 7th. TP in 8th. Polish Gorilla in 9th. White Tunes in 10th. OP Magic in 11th. Sorel JB in 12th. Now, White Tunes, OP and Sorel, they're all starting on the medium compound of tyre. White Tunes in 10th, starting on the mediums. Don't know about that. Oh wait, no, there's a driver missing from the session, isn't there? Leo isn't. So that'll explain why he's on a set of mediums, because I think Leo did qualify in the 10. So I think that's okay from White Tunes. Wogboy in 13th place, the only driver starting on the hard compound tyre. It'll be a bit interesting for him whether or not he'll get swallowed up by the cars behind, or whether he can hold track position off the start. Then from there, One Slick Mofo, Nachos, then Curving and Mr. Mount from 14th down to 17th place. All of them are starting on the mediums as Mr. Mount explores the grass outside of Scarring. Alrighty then. So, telemetry up, lap data, we'll keep that away for now. Drivers are now making their way around Parabolica, and we'll get this Italian Grand Prix underway. 17 cars on the grid, one is missing unfortunately, but still quite a healthy field here, as everyone is now lining up into their respective grid slots. We'll just be waiting on Mr. Mount to line up into his. But yes, 7 drivers on the mediums, 1 driver on the hards, rest on the softs, and there's a big question mark with the man on pole. We'll see what happens here. But everyone's ready to go here. Everyone is ready to race. We have 5 red lights. And it's lights out, and away we go. Zach does take off, but his tyres will be stone cold. Down the pit straight we go towards turn 1. Zach gets a horrendous start. It is Swaggy who will lead into turn 1. Now, oh, there's bumping and bagging here. This is what you expect to see here at Monza. But no one's spinning out. No massive amount of damage from what I can see. Oh, but a Ferrari off. It's Whitetunes. He's all the way down in last place, down in 17th. A long way behind the pack. He needs a safety car, effectively, to bring himself back into it, and he has wing damage as well, to just compound his problems. But Swaggy, a good start, as you'd expect, because Crichton didn't do a pace lap, so his tyres were stone cold, and he's down in 4th. He's got Isaac push. Oh, and into the wall, I think. OP Magic. He went off at the second Lesmo. He's got bits of DRS signage all over his car. Just see if he's got any damage. It definitely looked like he went into the wall, but I might be wrong. No, I'm wrong. He's got a full front wing. So he mustn't have hit the wall. He definitely went off the racetrack, though. That is for sure.
Yes.
Oh, 3 wide into Parabolica. Oh, on the first lap, fellas. Come on. Just, oh, please don't do anything, fellas. Please. Please don't. As we have the typical lap 2 glitch. But it's still Swaggy leading the way. Spilly in second, question mark? He is in second. GeForce Ford is in 3rd place. Then it is GeForce Crichton. He's maintaining 4th at the moment. So maybe he does have a setup on the car. Either that or he's sort of out driving this Mercedes at the moment. So have to wait and see. There's some dirt kicked up in the background. I think there was GeForce TP having a moment as we have some side-by-side action between Isaac Kush and Plebs. Isaac maintaining 5th place. Plebs trying to get by the AlphaTauri here, using overtake. DRS isn't enabled just yet. It is only lap 2. As they head towards Ascari, Plebs takes P5 away from Isaac just before Ascari. Looking at the rest of the field, though, it appears to be pretty tame. No one in a position quite just yet to battle. Oh, another driver as Nachos has a massive moment at Ascari. That could have been disastrous for him, but he managed to catch it. But he's going to lose a position here to one slick mofo. Whitetunes electing to pit onto another set of softs, so not going onto the hard tyre and try and go to the end. He's just praying for another safety car, a safety car to come out.
A safety car.
I'm already preparing myself for multiple safety cars, you see. That's Swaggy still leading the way, relatively unchallenged for the moment, though Spilly behind will now start to get DRS. And hopefully for his sake, he'll be starting to catch up to Swaggy. But Swaggy, as he demonstrated in Singapore, he's got a tremendous amount of pace underneath him. Let's see if he can replicate that here at Monza. That gap steadily closing down, as you'd expect, as Spilly does have DRS. 4D maintaining 3rd, Crichton maintaining 4th. And critically for Crichton, there's quite a gap between him and Plebs, as Polish Gorilla gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. That gap is 1.7 seconds between Zach and Plebs. It's the Race Spec. He's got Isaac Kush, old mate Kurt for company in P6 and 7. It's a bit of a gap to Polish Gorilla as Spilly sets fastest lap with a 21.338. Then GeForce TP in P9, then Sorel JB rounding out the top 10. Now, unfortunately for these medium guys, they haven't made too many positions off the start. Still some ways behind the front runners. Ideally for these guys, they would want to keep up with the soft runners, use their slipstream, and sort of make the most out of the medium tyre. I think would be a sensible way of going about their race, but they're still down in sort of the bottom half of the field at the moment. TP, a 3-second time penalty, multiple warnings. Yes, he has. Though Plez, I'm sure, is going to be counter-attacking soon. He won't do it here. He's not close enough to attack into Ascari. But if he can get a good run through Ascari and through Parabolica, he might be able to attack into turn 1 into the Retifilio chicane. Though if they continue to battle, they might lose time to the top 4. So it's an interesting battle as White Tune gets a 5-second penalty for corner cutting. He did that. Oh. What are you up to? Sort of going off the racetrack there. Yeah. Yeah, I think he might be retiring from the race just by judging sort of steering movements. Just please don't do anything stupid and crash the car out deliberately. Just get it. Don't destroy the boards either. Oh my goodness. Like, I'm someone who doesn't use racing. I don't use any assists because I'm a madman and I take pride in racing with no assists. And I just... it's just... Oh no. Yeah, no, that's not... Oh, and here we go. Yeah, no, that's a... I want to say some things, but I'm holding myself back. That's not on. That's the not colourful way of saying it. Drive-through penalty for nitro. Like, this is what it can cause. The safety car doesn't just change the complexity of the race because it resets the field. This can happen where drivers get drive-through penalties. It happens in both safety car periods and virtual safety car periods. And it's not always their fault because the delta is so brutal when it comes through corners. It just drops dramatically. And you have to come to almost a dead stop in order to try and not exceed the delta too much. But in they come. All the soft runners, this has pretty much ruined the medium runners' race. They'll have to box though. Put on the hard tyre. Wogboy can't. Because I don't think that... Oh, mate... Oh, well, all of them are pitting onto the medium tyre. No one's pitting onto the hards. Which is interesting. So, obviously the medium tyres can go the distance, I guess. But I would have thought from Curving, from Mr. Mount, and from Mofo, I think they should have boxed for a set of hards and go to the end. Because they're going to lose a fair amount of track position when they make their pit stops. So... Unless there's another safety car that comes out too, might play back into their favour with the track position. But yeah, interesting. But no, I'm not a big fan of when stuff like that happens. I'm really not.
No, you just don't want to see that.
No.
Not all really. I mean, it's written all in the rules, isn't it? As well?
Yeah,
So
yeah, it's all there.
Technically, no.
If I get that people get frustrated, I get frustrated as well when I race, but I always try and keep it under control. And if I need to go, I'll do it accordingly. You know, if you're going to retire, do it in the pit lane. You know, at least put yourself through that pain of driving one lap to get yourself into the pits and then retire from the session, not weave about on the racetrack, destroying braking boards and then eventually crashing here at Ascari. To me... yeah, just not a big fan. Not a big fan at all. But they'll put a massive reset on the field. All of the guys who pitted, they'll be thinking about going to the end of the race. Now, it's some stint that they have to do on those tyres. When the safety car peels in, that's bound to be lap 8, I'm guessing he'll come in. Maybe even lap 7. So they're going to have to do about 20 to 21 laps on that medium tyre. Do you know, Roscoe, if that's even doable? On a set of medium. On the mediums, yeah.
You think it would be doable? I mean, well, no, it probably depends on how long the safety car stays out, of course, but if the majority of these guys got on the mediums, then you'd think they'd have the confidence. Of course, they'll probably have to do a little bit of time worth saving to just make sure they get to the end, because there's obviously a risk of puncture territory come later on if we go green for the rest of the race. So it's a risk obviously that they're willing to take, and obviously these guys would not. if they can take the mediums to the end, which the majority of these guys have got. Oh, hello! Someone's spun under the safety car.
Oh, that's who is that? Oh, and he's got wing damage as well.
Yeah.
Okay. How did he? How? Okay, cool. Well, that won't help TP at all. He'll have to box and get that replaced. Now, he'll have another set of mediums because we didn't do qualifying. So, an extra set from qualifying, does that appear or not? I don't know.
Well, it should depends.
Car in this. Allocated, yeah. Yeah, that's true. Well, that's hurt TP out massively. I have no idea if he's done it by himself or if he was helped. Either way, he will have to go into the pits and get that replaced. So that's going to hurt him a lot in this race. So, but it'll be GeForce Wogboy who controls the field, making their way around Parabolica onto the pit straight. It will be lap 8 of 27 here at Monza. It's not the greatest restart, but it never really is here at Monza. It's very difficult to break away. Curving Texas sitting right in behind with Mr. Mountain third. And Mofo, down the inside goes Swaggy into the Retafilio chicane. He'll be on the outside into turn 2, but should get better traction. And does get better traction. He's into P4. Mofo getting swamped here. 40 is next. In P6, looking around the long way on GeForce Ford. Can he get it done? Yes, he can. Spilly also down the inside. Ooh, that's very close indeed. They got away, only just, but they got away. Just shows you how good these guys are. They can run such fine margins and not hit each other. I mean, when that happens in any of the lower tiers, it's bound to be an accident. But these guys are good enough to keep it tidy. So, Crichton on the attack, making his way past One Slick Mofo into 7th. Those fresh medium tyres really showing their speed already as Mofo makes a colossal error, but fortunately he was able to catch it. That car was completely sideways at the mid part of Ascari. He managed to catch it, but he's going to get overtaken by... Yeah, this is the problem with staying out and not pitting for fresh tyres. He's losing a lot of positions right now. OP Magic on the back of this train as well. A very long train of cars just outside the top 10, but it's Wogboy still leading the way as Kurt is overtaking Mofo now. Yeah, Mofo's not having a good time on those old mediums, dropping down to 4th all the way down to 11th in one lap. Yeah, not great for the Haas driver at all. So, at the moment, gaps aren't too big. Everyone is within a second of everyone, it seems. You can see there from 1st all the way down to 14th. No gap is greater than 1 second. The biggest, I think, is the gap between 9th and 10th. So, stay this close together on the next lap, then we'll have this colossal DRS train that formed. And then all of these guys will stay fairly close together.
Yeah, I tell you what, Swaggy had a moment coming out of second Lesbos, and 40 is putting a lot of pressure on him, but just manages to hang on for now.
Ooh, a bit awkward there from 40. You can see Swaggy just pulling away out of Ascari. OP Magic, a 3-second time penalty, and yellow flags. It's Polish Gorilla. He has crashed. Oh no. Safety car has been deployed. And this is a massive reprieve for these guys on the... Oh wait, Curving. That's a late call from Curving. He elects to stay out. That was a seriously late call. That is bound to be looked at by the steward. So I don't think there was any ruling in place for something like that happening. But Curving, he was committed. He was going into the pits. And at the very last second, elected to stay out. Interesting. Very interesting indeed. Well, I reckon Wogboy has pitted onto the mediums. I thought he would pit onto the mediums. Missed him out on a set of hards. One Slick Mofo on a set of hards. Has Nacho served his drive-through? He has served his drive-through. So this has given the Mclaren a massive reprieve in this race. That drive-through he got on the safety car should have ruined his race, but fortunately this safety car has helped him out a little bit, so long as he doesn't get another drive-through.
Fingers crossed.
Well, yes, exactly. A curving electing to stay out. I thought he was going to pit, and he was. Then he changed his mind. I don't know, that's interesting. That's an interesting sight to see.
I thought he was coming into the pits, but obviously he decided to back
Out of it.
He doesn't want to go on compound tyres. That's probably the only reason I can think of.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those are the tyres he started on, so he's not going on to another set of mediums. So, and those soft tyres won't make it from here. They won't do 17 laps, that's for sure. But we saw what happened to Mofo on those old medium tyres. He's gonna get swamped probably. As drivers in, is that Kush, old mate Kurt? Wing change? Question mark? No, it's just a new set.
Fresh set of mediums. I assume Kurt beginning on the hards.
Yeah, fresh set. So there must be 2 sets of mediums then for these guys to use, unless of course they chose softer.
Something like that. I can't actually quite remember, but
There we go. But that's probably a smart call. Take advantage of the safety car period and get yourself on the same tyre as everyone else. You know, you might as well try and take advantage of it. And knowing how this track works, it's just going to be a massive DRS train for the majority of the race. So, on those fresher tyres, they will have that much more speed in the corners, and they'll be able to brake so much deeper as well. So it may prove to be a massive benefit for them to pit now onto those new medium tyres. But yeah, with curving, it was sort of similar to what happened with Lewis at Hockenheim in 2018. Was that the year when he did that? The in moment? 2018 or 2017? Did it have the... It wasn't 19. 19 was the year when he crashed. That was the bonkers race where it rained and then it stopped raining right at the end. Where drivers went off onto the drag strip and crashed. There were like 4 or 5 of them. So yeah, because I'm pretty sure when that moment that car had the halo, so it must have been 2018. But yeah, going into the pits. Oh, what the? That is the latest safety car I've ever seen. And here comes Swaggy. He's going to take advantage of this. This is basically a rolling start. If this was right at the beginning of the race, that's a... Oh, and here we go. Oh, and Crichton's weaving left and right to get some temperature into those tyres. Texas defending. Round the outside. Spins the car a little. Oh, it made contact. Oh, and there goes Spilly almost off the road as well. Into Curva Grande. And here comes Crichton down the inside into 4th place. But Swaggy takes the lead. Does Texas reply? He's looking. Showing the nose, down the inside, can't get it done though. 40, all over the back of the Red Bull at the moment. Those fresher tyres paying dividends as they head towards the Lesmos for the 12th time. But a fairly chaotic start there. The safety car peeling in incredibly late. That is stupidly late there. Oh my word, I thought we were doing another... Ooh. Yeah. That was bonkers there, and I do feel sorry for the likes of Swaggy and Texas that had to put up with that, particularly Texas, because he didn't get to set up a restart. He's just losing time now to Swaggy, but unfortunately for Ford and Crichton, they're losing time to Swaggy as well. The gap has opened up to over a second now between 1st and 2nd place. Here comes Ford using overtake, probably using Rich Mix as well. That's overtaking OP. Big send here into Rettifilio. Has... No, not quite, no. But Spilly all over the back of Crichton. You can smell that Mercedes gearbox oil. He's that close as they go through Curva Grande. And 40 looking... Not close enough though, and that gap is increasing massively. 1.8 seconds now, the gap between P1 and P2. No, not at all. 40, he needs to be brave, he needs to go for it. The longer that Swaggy stays out in front, the harder it's going to be for the likes of Ford and Crichton to try and take the win. Curving is just a massive speed hump at the moment. They just can't get by. Oh, Swaggy. That may prove to be a pivotal moment in this race. Swaggy, a 3-second time penalty. Credit to Texas though. He's hanging on. He's not doing badly. Like, Texas won't care. Texas won't care about the scenario between Swaggy and Ford and Crichton. He just wants to race as fast as he can. So, but when he pits, and if it's under green flag conditions, he's dropping to the back of the field. Everyone else is ready to go to the end of the race. So,
yeah, everyone's so close handy as well. So, yeah, he's really less a safety.
Oh, and spin! TP and Mofo off the racetrack. Oh, and they get back on, and ooh, that's not nice. You see there, Mofo just driving through TP, either warming up his tyres or venting his frustration. I'm guessing it's the latter. I'll put money on the latter because, yeah, TP having damage from the safety car period. He now has damage again. That front wing missing an end plate. Oh dear, it's not a great race for the Mercedes driver. His teammate is not doing too badly, but still, it's not looking good for GeForce TP. 40 still unable to find a way past, though I think he'll be close enough to attack now. He stays behind Curving. This is a tactical decision from Ford. He doesn't want to overtake him before Parabolica, because if he does, that gives Curving DRS and the chance to overtake Ford down the pit straight. Mofo's out. He has crashed at Ascari. Oh, that's a big crash at Ascari. That's another one there. And no safety car. If there was a safety car, 100% we would have seen Curving Texas pit there. But no safety car.
He's got him finally. There's 40.
But that gap, look at his gap. What, 3.2 seconds? That's massive. That is really massive. So Curving has helped out Swaggy tremendously here. I'm sure Ford and Crichton won't approve of that, I'm sure. So now Crichton needs to find a way past, but for now he has to do it the old-fashioned way because both Curving and Crichton will have DRS. So it's not like Crichton could just build up a momentum and just slingshot past, because both he and Curving will have that extra bit of speed with the DRS flap open. And you can see there, Curving's pulling away. Gap is almost half a second now between Crichton and Texas. So Crichton, he needs Curving to make a bit of an error somewhere, I think. Two of them, in fact. So LJB and Mr. Mount, I think I saw there as well. 3 seconds apiece. Thank you. See here this tremendous train of cars. TP a 3-second time penalty as well. But is that all over the back of Plebs? You can smell that McLaren gearbox oil if he's that close. DRS open, not using overtake though. Will he go for a move here into the Rettifilio chicane? Plebs goes deep, but he still hits the apex fairly well into turn 1 and manages it through turn 2 as well. Wogboy all over the back of this as well. He's on fairly fresh mediums, as is Isaac Kush. Yeah, you can see quite typical Monza behaviour. This DRS train forming. No one really in a position to overtake anyone. Oh, as Crichton runs wide at Della Roggia. Loses a little bit of time to Crichton. Loses a little bit of time to Texas, I should say, as he makes another mistake. Zach is definitely pushing, it seems, on the ragged edge of grip. But even with 40 now in P2, Swaggy is still pulling away. Gap is now 4 seconds. The Alfa Romeo has some speed underneath it, seems.
That's beneficial as well, because he's already got that 3-second gap out with that penalty that he's got at the moment.
Absolutely. So he's looking good to keep this win, unless Ford, picks up the pace and closes the gap. There's still plenty of racing to take place, 11 laps in fact. Crichton closer. Will he go for the big send into 1? He's not close enough to go for the big send. Players in behind Spilly, unable to attack. All the cars following each other line astern, not really attacking one another. Heading through Kurvagon.
Side by side.
Here we go. And he's got him just before the breaking point into the Della Roggia chicane, as Izakush gets a 3-second time penalty. So that's not a bad move there from Zach Crichton. He's got it done. Now he needs to catch up to 40. But it'll be interesting to see what Ford and Crichton do. Do they work with each other to try and catch up with Swaggy? Or do they just scrap it out for second? I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see. Spilly. P5 on the back of curving. Looking for a way to get past. That Red Bull has got some serious legs. Into Parabolica. We'll see Spilly be just so much quicker through here. He'll have that much more grip. And actually, no, I'm wrong. Curving pulls away at the exit of Parabolica. Interesting.
DRS is helping as well, but not ERS because both of them are low.
Spilly, will he go for the big boy send? No, he's not close enough to go for that, surely. Although he gets pretty close. Pretty close indeed. But yeah, I'm not sure what Curving's game plan is now. Is he just praying for a safety car or something, or I don't know. Because what's that gap close? 4 seconds, 3.9, 3.8, stuck down to 3.7. So it's cost him a fair amount of time, but fortunately he maintains that 3-second margin, that critical 3-second margin. But Spilly still looking for a way to get past the Red Bull of Curving Texas. He's unable to do so, though Texas is now out of DRS range of Zach Crichton, so he's going to be fairly vulnerable now to Spilly, and maybe even Plebs if he can get a good run out of Parabolica. He might be able to snag Curving as well. Pit straight is incredibly long. You see speeds of up and over. Oh, but Plebs, a mistake! A critical error there. As that goes past, so... Oh, and Curving's in. Curving... So, he'll be going onto the soft tyres to go to the end, but look at how much track position he's lost. The best he can hope for is 12th. I reckon it will be. Oh, okay. There we go. So, for Curving, he's in the points as the top 15 score points. But, yeah, a long way from where he was. And even if a safety car comes out, I reckon a lot of people would just pit anyway, and sort of negates his advantage being on the soft tyre. So, yeah.
More than likely. Now, of course, interesting in P5. He's obviously came in at second safety car, and he's the best of the say, fresher compounded tyres.
Yeah, currently 5th place. Bit over half a second behind Spilly. Spilly doesn't have DRS either. So he's going to be pretty vulnerable. And that gap has closed in just a little bit between Swaggy and Ford, now 3.5 seconds. But critically for Swaggy, just maintaining that 3-second gap. But that might be an interesting battle to watch for the lead in just a few moments. But here comes Izzat. He'll have DRS, he's using overtake as well, probably using a bit of Rich Mixed. Oh, he's going to get him easy, there's going to be no contest here. Yeah, Izzat would just slingshot by. There we go. So Spilly down to 5th. Now, I wonder what Spilly's game plan would be, to try and scrap it out with Izzat, or try and follow him perhaps. Try and save a bit of resources, because I have noticed he's quite low on them. Yes. So, I don't know, it will be interesting to see what the Racing Point does. The rest of the field, though, appears to be pretty tame. Have a close battle between the two Williams cars, sort of the outer edges of the top 10. We've got Sorel JB all over the back of Mr. Mount as well, looking to attack. Wad Boy on the back of Plebs. Gap is 3/10, and it's increasing. That McLaren has got slightly better straight line speed, it appears, as they head into the Ascari chicane. But, And also with this incredibly close racing, here in the midfield in particular, penalties are going to play a colossal part in the results of this race, for sure. Here we go, DRS open, using overtake, but you can see Plevs negating that. But here comes Wogboy, he's got the run. He'll have to look around the long way though. Plevs comes back onto the racing line, gives a Ferrari the big squeeze. The Tifosi would not like that at all. A massive boo from the crowd there, I'm sure, from the virtual crowd there. They would, I think the Tifosi would like to see Plevs get a drive-through penalty for dangerous driving there, I'm sure, as they head towards Della Roccia chicane. But, and if he didn't get a drive-through penalty, then we'll just see the entirety of Italy just with torches and pitchforks marching over to France to have a talk with the FIA. Oh, absolutely. But that's how passionate they are, the Italians, towards Ferrari. It's amazing, isn't it? Like, it would be the greatest atmosphere, I think, of any racetrack to go to just hear the Tifosi every time they see a red car go by. They'll just go absolutely bonkers. And to see one win, it'll be even more chaotic. It'll be absolutely fantastic to be there.
Absolutely.
But, at the moment, the battle for the lead has sort of died down. Gap is now 3.7 seconds. So Swaggy has found a little bit of composure and he's starting to pull away incrementally away from P2. It's not a lot, but just a little bit every so often. Crichton's maintaining third. Let's see. No one else really in a position to attack, are they? They're just sort of following each other for now. Maybe we'll see those big boy sends right at the end of the race, when it's do or die for the guys. But, everyone fairly close together. Penalty scenario. Everyone's on 3 seconds except for GeForce TP. He's got a total of 9 seconds next to his name, so he's pretty much guaranteed 14th place at the moment, even if we get a late race safety car. The way that this race has been, he's basically finishing no higher than 14th. Isaac Kush now has 6 seconds worth of pens, adding on to the 3 he got earlier, so he may be dropping down quite a few positions, maybe down to P9 perhaps, with those penalties. We'll have to wait and see, but yeah. From 4th all the way down to 9th. It's a lot of positions lost, a lot of points lost as well. It appears Crichton's on the attack here. Heading towards turn 1. Doesn't go for the move. Sector 2 yellow flags. GeForce TP is crashed. That is at the second Lesmo, at the exit of the second Lesmo. He is out of the race. And no safety car as of yet. We may see one though. Knowing the game, it can be a bit delayed at times. But no, it's just sector 2 yellow flags. Yeah, I think we will. There we go. It's gone now. The car's disappeared. No safety car. I'm sure Swaggy will be thanking his lucky stars for that.
Oh yeah.
It's 40. Still in P2. Still holding off Crichton. Kush is gaining. He's closed the gap to almost under a second now, so the AlphaTauri's shown pace, but those... Oh! Into the wall! Oh no, oh no, oh no. Oh, after I said that. Commentator's curse strikes again. Kush, big impact with the wall there. But it's quite a common error, I think. It's so incredibly easy to do at Ascari, particularly the last part. Just, you take that curb awkwardly, it's just, the car just spins. It just rotates. Yeah, it's not fun. But fortunately, I don't think... How does he not have damage with it? That was a full-on, side-on impact with the wall. No damage.
His weekend plates are still on the car, so I'm amazed. It might have like a small amount of damage.
Yeah. Like, We're saying that the maximum amount of damage he has is a lime green wing. That's the maximum. That is. I have seen YouTube videos from some friends, like Bodhod, who's the commentator for Tier 2 Pacific Series. He had a moment at Silverstone and at Hungary where he hit the wall at about 40 kilometers an hour, and the car just explodes. It just disintegrates, and he's out of the race. And that was at what, over 150 kilometers an hour, surely, into a tyre barrier. No damage. What game? Like, what? I mean, I get it, sometimes luck is in your favour, sometimes, but that's ridiculous. But anyway, that's the game in a nutshell. You can have a full-on crash with a wall and come out completely unscathed. And in 7th, he's lost 3 positions. So he really hasn't got any damage, has he? And Crichton's overtaken Ford into P2. And is that overtaking Wogboy into 6th? So, yeah, absolutely. So even if he has that lime green damage, which I'm starting to think he doesn't, still got plenty of speed. Oh, it's 40. Oh, side by side at the second Lesmo. What are you two fellas up to? So it's no longer a battle for the win. They're just battling for 2nd place now. They're more or less giving it up to Swaggy. And now Spilly's involved in this fight. And Plebs.
Wait. That's got a puncher. Left rear puncher.
Wait. Oh, no. Oh, that could have been really nasty. Oh, because his car didn't ghost then. Him and Plebs came so close together. So that introduces a massive question mark for Swaggy, for 40, for Spilly and Plebs. Can they make it? They've got another 2 laps to do. And Crichton is tumbling down the order with that puncture. Oh my goodness me. What a development.
It's going to be critical now.
So what's Swaggy up to? He's been pulling away from 40, from Spilly, from the rest of the field. Has he got enough life left in these tyres? What about 40? He's been battling with Crichton. Does he have the life in his tyres? Same with Spilly, same with Plebs, and here comes Isaac Kush. Suddenly, Kush potentially might be in a race-winning position if all 4 drivers in front of him get punched. Actually, no. Those 9 seconds, those 9 seconds worth of penalties would hurt him. So it's actually G-Force Wogboy who's the best of the rest. He's got no pens. Those tyres can make it. What about these 4? Oh my goodness. What a development that is.
Supposed to go mad if that would happen.
Like the 5 cars in front have some sort of problem and the Ferrari just wins. Oh, that would be a moment and a half, wouldn't it? But at the moment there is an Italian car, quote unquote, leading the way. The Alfa Romeo of Swaggy. If they can't get a Ferrari to win, I'm sure they will cheer on for the Alfa Romeo as Swaggy begins the final lap. And I'm betting my bottom dollar this is going to be the most cautious lap of Swaggy's career. What happened to him at Singapore? He threw his race away at the Singapore Sling. He's not going to throw his race away here. He needs to keep it on the racetrack and pray to the Codemasters gods that his tyres stay intact. Plebs doesn't care though. He's saying, mate, I'm going to send it here. I want a podium finish. I'm going for it. And credit, why not? If he's got enough life left in the tyre, go for it. You got nothing to lose. And down the inside goes Kush, and the spin! Oh no! And he's losing a position to Wogboy. So here we go, folks. Who's going to win this? Can Swaggy, coming down the second DRS zone towards the Scari. Gap is decreasing quite a bit now, 4.6 seconds. It was well over 5. Nice and gentle here from Swaggy. He doesn't want to push it. He's got 1 corner left to hope, to pray that his tyres stay intact. Here we go, we're right on board. He is cruising. He doesn't push. Out of Parabolica for the final time. Win for G4 Swaggy here at Monza. But who's going to finish on the podium? It is going to be G4 Ford, and Plebs takes home P3. Now, Wogboy finished. Oh, and a big crash there, Kush, venting his frustration there. It'll be Spilly in 4th, Wogboy in 5th, Old Mate Kurt in 6th. OP Magic finishes in 7th place. Mr. Mount from the back of the field finishes in 8th in the top 10. Sorel JB in 9th. Isaac Kush with his tyre sort of floating about there, finishing in P10. Curving Texas finished just outside the 10 in 11th. And Crichton, I believe, has just gotten nachos at the line. Okay. Well, Swaggy, I think he'd be happy that he has redeemed himself. Mr. Mount given driver of the day. That's fair. After what happened in qualifying, to finish in the 10 in 8th place, that's a pretty good recovery. Whew. That would have been a very nervous final lap, I reckon, for Swaggy. He would have been... if he wasn't wearing the brown underpants, he'd be a very brave man. But he takes the win here at Monza. It's going to be G-Force Ford in P2 and Plebs rounding out the podium with a last lap overtake on Spilly. It was a gambling move knowing the tyre scenario, but he made it work and he gets a podium finish. The rest of the finishing order, the unofficial finishing order, it is Spilly in P4, Wogboy in P5, Old Maid Kurt in P6, OP Magic in 7th. Mr. Mount in 8th, Sorel JB in 9th, Isaac Kush rounds out the top 10. What a race it could have been for Isaac if he didn't get those penalties. He was definitely on course for a potential podium finish. Kevin Texas down in 11th, Zach Crichton in 12th place. What his race could have been without that puncture. That was a podium finish for him. He didn't get that in the end. And Nachos rounds out the finishes in 13th place. Not a bad race at all here at Monza. We had some drama, we had some action, we also had some things that we really didn't want to see early on in the race, but you get those occasionally. But no, it's been a fairly nice race here at Monza. It was a lot better than what it was last week at Singapore. That is for sure. But no, not at all. Well, there we go, Mr. Roscoe. How was it? How was your first experience commentating? Have fun?
Actually turned out to be a lot more entertaining, especially with that sort of late puncture it was for Crichton, and then everybody whether it was going to be similar for the other guys that were on, similar tyres, whether they were going to get punctures later on. But in the end, that was an entertaining race. I enjoyed that one.
Yeah, there was.
Pleasure being alongside you, Meg.
No, it's been a lot of fun, and thank you for joining me as well. It's always fantastic to have another pair of eyes in the commentary booth. I can't pick up everything, so to have that extra pair of eyes watching over the racetrack to pick up the action that I don't get, and also offering another opinion, it gets fairly lonely inside here talking to myself, but during that period in between qualifying the race where we had that chat, definitely made that period of time significantly less boring. So no, thank you very much for putting your hand up and helping me out. But not a bad race there. Redemption day for G4 Swaggy, from the lows of Singapore to the highs of Monza. Next week is next week. I can't remember what next week is. What's after
Australia?
Oh dear God, is it really? Oh.
I think it is actually.
Let's have a look. Actually, no, it's Bahrain. So Bahrain will be next. Is that a break that we? No, it's not. I'm just anyway. So yeah, Bahrain will be the next round in the championship at Sakir International Circuit. Now Sakir, it's not a bad racetrack. It's not one of my personal favourite circuits. I have a hard time around there, personally. But generally speaking, the races are pretty interesting. And also generally speaking, the guys in the midfield who qualify outside the top 10 get quite an advantage starting on the mediums going onto the hards, I've noticed. The soft tyre burns up pretty quickly around Sakir. So, yeah, qualifying will be interesting and see all the tactics, all the games that take place during that qualifying session just before the race. But it's still not quite just over yet.
Your calendar again, because did you get the updated calendar? I think Australia got added in between Italy and Bahrain.
Oh, that's right. It got added, didn't it? Oh, oopsie.
Yeah.
So, Albert Park. Well, Albert Park.
Just be an entertaining race.
Well, you would hope so, but I don't know. I have a thing with Albert Park. It's just, I don't know. Like, you have turns 11 and 12, which provide all the drama. Because with turn 12 in particular, if you take that curb wrong, both the inside and the outside curb, you're probably going to spin the car out into a tyre barrier. So it's a very treacherous part of the racetrack for the drivers. Overtaking-wise, you've got basically turn 3. I wouldn't even class turn 1 as an overtaking point, unless you're pretty much behind someone going through the final corner and has enough momentum to get it into 1. Because 1 is quite a quick corner, and so is turn 2. So you don't get much braking to try and send it down the inside of someone into turn 1, and then make the move stick into turn 2, and then use DRS again towards turn 3.
Yes.
Rest of the track is follow the leader, though. From turn 4 all the way up to the DRS zone after turn 12, I don't think there's too many overtaking opportunities. Again, unless you're right up behind someone ready to overtake. So, okay, look, Albert Park, I haven't done too much around Albert Park, so I don't know. I'll keep an open mind for the sake of it, but, you know, I'm also not expecting the most brilliant race in the world, but we'll wait and see what happens there.
Never know.
But that doesn't end the week of racing here at Monza. Tomorrow I'm doing commentary for the Americas tier around here, and then on the weekend we've got the RS tiers for both PlayStation and Xbox around here at Monza as well. So the racing doesn't stop here at Formula One's Temple of Speed, not just yet anyway. But until next time, I've been the Smeg, and my co-commentator for tonight's the race, VSR Roscoe, for the first time in his commentary career, his debut commentating session. Thank you very much for joining me. And for next week on Tier 1, we'll see you next for the Australian Grand Prix at Albert Park. Until then, goodbye.